Hi, this is the first ever episode of the hashtag #AskProLife show from Students for Life. My name is Phil, and I make video for Students for Life.
And I'm Tina. I'm the Executive Vice President at Students for Life.
So this is going to be a weekly show where we answer some of your questions on how to be more confidently pro-life and to have some interactivity with you, the viewers. Now, for some background, I used to be very, very pro-choice, to the point where if the topic ever came up and I was around, someone was going to leave that conversation feeling bad. So I went through a transition period in which I was gradually opening up to the idea that maybe pro-life was the logically correct standpoint. And during that time, I considered myself to be a closet pro-lifer. I look back on that period of my life and I think, why? I didn't know how to answer for it and I just didn't want to look stupid. So this show is no replacement for how to debate or having a real person out there with you and training you to be able to debate well. If you're able to, I highly recommend getting an apologist to come out and train you. But the point of the show is to help you understand the core of what you're talking about and to hear it over and over and over again from different angles until it sinks in. So we hope that with your regular viewership, we can help you to be able to verbalize any defense of your pro-life viewpoints, no matter where the conversation goes.
Okay, so we have two parts of the show. First, we're going to pick a topic of the week, talk about it, and then the second part will be Q&A that we will take from you, the viewers, with the hashtag #AskProLife. So the topic of the week this week is affiliates versus national.
What was the actual? It still
is.
Planned Parenthood says that they have high quality health care. How do we answer for that? All right, so we thought that there were a few really, really good points. The first point I wanted to bring up was the difference between nationals and affiliates. So think of it like a McDonald's franchise. There's the McDonald's corporate, and then there's the little restaurants. Now, where this comes into play with Planned Parenthood is if the national sets out some sort of rule, they can't really enforce it too well on the affiliates. But on top of that, we saw in Texas about 3 years ago that they obviously didn't have quality control rules built into their structure.
Yeah, so in Texas, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Wendy Davis filibuster. Who could forget her bright pink tennis shoes and that she didn't go to the bathroom for like 24 hours? It was crazy. Yeah. But it really brought to light what was going on in Texas, and that they were asking for abortion clinics to follow just your basic standard surgical center type regulations. So for instance, that a hallway had to be big enough for a stretcher to go through. Also, for instance, that you have to have admitting privileges at a hospital nearby. In case something goes wrong, you can admit your patient and still follow them through to care.
That would be helpful.
That would be helpful. And it's something that's standard at all other medical centers. It wasn't something that was above and beyond because they performed abortions. And you really saw Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry dig their heels in and say that this was, too much to ask for. This is just over the top. We can't believe you'd ask us to follow these rules and regulations. And what's very interesting is that after it passed, you saw Planned Parenthood choose to shut clinics down and instead of raise the standards in their centers to meet the requirements.
Yeah, so all that is just to say that it's common sense regulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just common sense. When abortion is at the center of your thinking, everything that you decide on revolves around abortion. So if they say, hey, we want you guys to have admitting privileges at a hospital, but does it stop abortion access? Crazy. And the way pro-lifers view it, we want women to have access to nice, high-quality health care. I mean, that's a nice thing, right?
Across the board, obviously, there's an underlying knowledge that if they pass these kinds of regulations, that it will force abortion clinics to shut down. And that's because we know there are places like Kermit Gosnell's abortion clinic that are operating at not just subpar standards, but dangerous standards for women. And so these pieces of legislation, yes, they will shut clinics down, absolutely. But at the end of the day, the purpose is to make healthcare standard and safe for everyone across the board. But when abortion and that money is your bottom line, then it doesn't matter if it means that it's going to be safer. What matters at the end of the day for Planned Parenthood is that it's going to reduce their bottom line because they're going to have to invest in widening hallways.
It's all about them Benjamins.
Yep, it is. I can't think of someone higher. Oh my
Them
gosh.
Benjamin?
Yeah, isn't he 100?
Yeah, he's
So
100.
pleased.
I think there's like $1,000 bill, isn't there?
There's one with my face on it.
That's the $1 million, because you look like $1 million
Yes.
bucks. The second part of the show, Q&A.
Q&A.
All right.
Hashtag ask pro life.
Yeah, what state is this?
Missouri.
So the question one comes from Missouri. They want to know about the 3% myth. Now that's a huge topic, and we'll go on it. We'll go cover it in another video, or you can check out the video that we already made. Link in the description below.
It's very good.
But the quick answer is, it's not a myth. The way that they laid it out, the way that they laid out all their numbers, and I'll link their annual report in the description below. It is 3% of all their services, but when you go to a doctor's office, the doctor's office, they hit you on the knee, they stick the little popsicle thing down your throat, they do a little swab on the back of your throat. They do all kinds of crazy things, but that's not the reason why you went there. You might have went there for flu-like symptoms, but he's also going to test you for with a stethoscope and stuff to see if you have any lung thing, right? So it's all about why they went to to see the doctor. Now, if you look on the list of services, there's only 3 things that specifically relate to pregnant women and how a pregnant woman's visit to Planned Parenthood would end. Either they get an abortion, they get prenatal care, or they place their child for adoption. Those are the only 3 services that relate to
the pregnant women.
Mm-hmm. So if you add up all those numbers, then divide it by the number of abortions, that number's 94%, give or take, 1%. That's it in a nutshell. It's just out of context, and go see our video.
Yeah, it explains it very well.
All right.
This question is from North Dakota. Do our other medical centers accept Obamacare just like Planned Parenthood? And the answer to that question is yes, indeedy. There are 20 federally qualified healthcare centers for every 1 Planned Parenthood in the United States. And every single one of those federally qualified healthcare centers accepts Obamacare, just like Planned Parenthood. And they not only offer the same services as Planned Parenthood, they offer more. The only thing they don't offer is abortion. And so you can go to getyourcare.org and you can put in your zip code and you can find where the federally qualified healthcare centers are in your area, and you can direct men and women and children, because they service everybody, to centers like that instead of going to Planned Parenthood.
I feel like people always forget about men.
I don't forget about men. I have 3 sons, so
Yeah,
you can't forget.
Yeah. All right, so question number 2. I'll just...
2 for him.
Right. Oh, well, 2 for me. This one comes from Washington State. What does viability mean? So viability just means can the preborn baby survive on current medical systems? So obviously our adults survive much longer through modern medical intervention. So can the preborn child also survive
Outside the womb.
outside the womb? So and I think right now it's 50-50 at 21 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cuddy, when does the fetus feel? You don't care what I answer, right? So this one is from Idaho. This is from Idaho. It is when does a fetus feel pain? Okay, so scientifically there is sort of a window here. As early as 17 weeks and as late as 22 is when a baby in utero can begin to feel pain. It's sort of been whittled down to 20 weeks, and so that's why you see a lot of these 20-week ban bills in the state house and introduced federally as well, because there's something about that human connection of pain that people that are very for abortion or sensitive to it or consider themselves pro-choice when that baby starts to feel pain, it connects them with the humanity of that child. And so it's been a really good tool. But there's a window, but it's most commonly accepted at 20 weeks.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. If you like the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you don't have a YouTube, it's wherever they put that subscribe button. If you don't have a YouTube account that you subscribe with, follow our Twitter accounts below or right here. And if you don't use Twitter or YouTube,
What century are you living in?
there's a link in the description below for an email list that we only use to let you know when there's new videos out. We're not going to ask you unless you opt in for other things. So check out all the links below. Bye.
See ya.